Well, hello once again, everyone. Thank you so much for coming back to watch my videos. As you know, we have been unpacking our Pandora's box to heal the broken child, the wounded child in each of us. And, my experience has really helped me to bring healing to, a lot of difficult places in my life. And what it has helped, one of the main things it has helped me to do was to face the challenges, face fear, the fear of moving forward in my life, the fear of the fear that comes in dealing with relationships. And when I talk about relationship, of course, I'm not just talking about relationships among husband and wives and intimate partners, but relationship period. We when you think about the relationships that you've had over the years, and you think about all the things that has happened in your life to affect how you deal with people. As I've said, I've got friends that I've been friends with, all of my life. And I got friends that I've been with for a short period. I value my friends. There's a scripture that says, if you find a friend, you hold them closer than a brother. So I'm thankful for my relationships, and I'm thankful for the people that God has sent in my life. And so last week, we talked about dealing with rejection, and all of us at one time has dealt with some form of rejection. But to get us to this place where we need to be to help us deal with our intimate relationship, we really have to go back and look at how we dealt with it as a child. When we was being rejected, we didn't have a word for it. All we know is that the person said something that was cruel, or did something that was cruel to us, and so we shut down. We took whatever they did or said, and we put it in our Pandora's box, and we put it away. And as we progressed in life and met other people, it's just like having a wound. It started to form a scab, and you going about your day, and you hit it and knock the scab off. That's the way it is with rejection. You going through your life, and you meet people, and it's so funny how excuse me. It's so funny how we don't understand our triggers. We don't understand what trigger us, so we get in these relationships, and something happen, and we flare up and we get angry, and we don't even know why, and then when you think about it, it becomes about you. You make it, she did this, he did this to me, not knowing that you might be just operating out of rejection. As I look back over my life and I think about the times when, now that I can identify those areas of rejection, I was thinking about when my dad took me and registered me for school. During this particular time, they didn't have a universal desk. They had all right-hand desks. I don't know why they thought that, everybody was right-handed. So anyway, because the desk was right-handed, I had to turn my paper. And so when I remember watching my dad as he was talking to my teacher, my first grade teacher, he told her, he said, she left-handed, so every time she used her left hand, I want you to stop her. Now, I'm standing there as a little girl, 6 years old, listening and looking up at them talk about me. You know how we do. We talk about children like they're not even in the room. That's what we do. And so, you know how the teachers would, you know, when you doing your work, they come down the aisles, you know, they come down the aisles to see what you're doing. And so when my teacher would get to me, she had this little ruler. She would tap me on my hand, on my knuckles, and tell me, you know, use your right hand, you know, and so turn your paper around, you know. And she was so, excuse me, she was so forceful with it. And being that she was the adult, of course, it intimidated me. So I started to use my right hand. And before I could, you know, I started using my right hand. I started learning to write with my right hand. And I remember, it's so funny how things happen and you remember them well. I remember we had quilts on our bed, and we had this old iron bed, and we used to put the quilt on the foot of the foot of the bed, on the foot, you know, because it was a high iron bed. So we would put the quilts and we would play, pretend like we was riding a horse. So of course that with the iron being slippery, the quilt slipped and turned and flipped me over, and I broke my right wrist. I mean, this was like 3 months into me learning to use my right hand. And so, therefore, I had to go back to using my left hand. And so, as I got older, you know, I couldn't understand why people had issues with you being left-handed. I always thought that whatever you were, left or right, that was what God intended you to be. But my point is this: the intensity of the rejection. You know, some people might not see that as a form of rejection, but now that I look back over in retrospect, it was a form of rejection that really affected how I thought, affected my mindset that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't, because I wasn't right-handed. I didn't do it like everybody else did. That meant I wasn't good enough. And so, you know, I can go on and on about the different things that came up in my life that caused me to feel like I was being rejected, and I'm sure that you can too. And as I progressed through my life and dealing with people, there was things that happened that that I just felt like I wasn't good enough. And so as I got into, you know, okay, another thing, when, you know, my mom, she was home for a while, but, you know, as time progressed, she went to work. And so she worked practically all the time, and my dad worked practically all the time. And so as I got older, and I started working, I basically had the same habits that my parents had. I worked all the time, you know, and so I was gone, you know, my kids would be in the bed when I leave home, because I would leave home about 5 in the morning. And a lot of times they would be in the bed when I got home. And so I was gone. And so then, you know, when I got in these relationships, you know, I basically got in a relationship with a partner who worked all the time and really didn't have a whole lot of time for me. And so, you know, I justified the fact that he was working. You know, I justified that he didn't have time for me, but I called him my husband, I called him my man. But, you know, we didn't spend a whole lot of time together. So as I as I moved through life, I realized that I kept the same pattern. You know, because just like I said, we're energy. We're made from energy. So, you know, energy draws energy. So I basically draw people in my space who we wear like it's a crown, that we work like Hebrew slaves. We take pride in the fact that we work all the time. But as I as I think about it now, where I am in life, yes, I know we need to work, but we also need to play. There should be some downtime. There should be I'm talking about quality time. See, you can give a person some time, but you need quality. We need quality time. We need time with each other where we're not looking at our phones and, turn the phone off. We need time to talk to each other. People, I know so many people. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people over the years about how rejection, really affect them. I've heard hundreds of people, especially women, say, my mother, my mother didn't love me. If your mother got her own issues, then, she didn't know how to give you what she didn't have. But rejection is a real thing, and it can be cruel. And so, as I open up my Pandora's box and deal with, the different types of rejection and deal with how it affect me, and, as I open up my Pandora's box, because see, in your box, you put other folks' stuff too, And so in my box, I have put, some of my siblings' stuff in my box, because they was hurt and they was mistreated. And so, I wanted to protect them. And so I took their pain and I put it in my box too. So it's not just about what you put in your Pandora's box. It's not about the things that you put in your box about you. But we put things in our box about other people, the pain, the rejection. I had one of my sisters, she was, dark skinned, and, the most prejudiced people I ever met when it comes to skin color is my own race. You got to be a certain color. If you dark skinned and we had issues with people of darker skin. And so, I watched her because, let's see, I was only a year older than she was. So, of course, she and I she kind of tagged along with me. And I watched people, mistreat her. I watched people call her black, with your black self. And that was very, 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 to me, abusive to watch her. Even though they said crazy stuff about me, I really felt for my sister, because it seemed to affect her, differently. It seemed like it broke her to me. And so in my box, I have my sister's stuff too. In my box, I have some of my other siblings' stuff, and in my box, I have some of my friends' pain. In my box, I have some of the people that I've encountered, the stories that I've heard. I have that in my box. And so I'm beginning to unpack that box and deal with the pain, how cruel we can be to one another, how we say cruel things and do cruel things to people that we say we love, I'm on this new job and I watch people come in and I interact, with people. But, because I'm very intuitive and I am a seer. I see beyond just the outer appearance. I see in the spirit realm, and sometimes people come in and I see their whole story just unfold in front of my eyes. And I can see the rejection. I can see the pain of feeling not loved. I can see what the husband just said, what the wife just said, and I can see the diagnosis that she just got from the doctor, and so, a lot of people say, I wish that I had the gift. No, you don't. Because the gift that I have, it comes with a heavy cost. You standing there minding your own business, then somebody comes up to you and all of a sudden God just downloads their whole life to you. And he does that so you begin to intercede for them. Anyway, that's a whole nother story, but I'm talking about rejection. Rejection is a cruel, cruel, cruel thing, And as we progress, as we get into these relationships, when I ask God to teach me about love, teach me what it really means, to love. And basically the bottom line is this: learning how to treat people right. And so you have to begin to define what is right. When the scripture says, love your neighbor as you love yourself, you have to ask the question, well, how do I love myself? Do I want someone to say mean things to me? Do I want to be cussed out? Do I want to be physically and verbally assaulted? You have to think about that, And so, one of the things Bishop Howard would say to me, he would always tell me, he said, Esther, he called me Mitchell. He said, Mitchell, it's all right to tell the truth. It's all right to tell the truth, but tell the truth in love. And so, I asked God to give me wisdom, give me the wisdom and knowledge and understanding on how to minister to people out of love, to say what I have to say out of love. Love. God is love. If you don't have the love of God, you really don't have love. God is love. God is love. Love comes from God, and God never fails. So dealing with rejection, and so as I progressed through my life, and I got in relationships, and not feeling like I was good enough, and not feeling the fear of being rejected, when they do reject you, you start to look at yourself and say, because what we do, we present this outer person. We doll this up, and we make sure every hair is in place, and we make sure everything is, right on the outside. And so when people reject us, what we do, we stand in the mirror and we look and we say, excuse me, well, was I not pretty enough? Was I not fine enough? Women, how we are, because we start to analyze the outer appearance. We never looked at the heart. We never looked at the heart. And most times, people who really deal in rejection and have a tendency to reject you, they don't look at that because they jacked up. They have their own issues with rejection. And so, the amazing thing to me is when you get in relationships, honesty, being honest with people, being true to yourself about what you really want in a relationship, what you really want out the relationship. And so I think it's just fair for people to tell the truth in love, and that's what I'm learning to do. God has me on another divine journey, and every time I want to make a move, God said, no, I got this. Every time I want to reject the situation, God said, no, I got this. Let me show you how to deal with this. You want to know how to love? Let me show you how to love. Let me show you how to deal with this. And so, because as you know, I am a talker. If I'm able to come on Facebook and do this 30 minutes of video, and all of my life, I have the gift to talk. That's what I do. And so it's so easy for me to say things. I can come up with some stuff, I can say some stuff to you. You wouldn't know whether I whether I bless you or whether I curse you. And so it's so easy for me to say words, say words, to come up with words to say. But God is teaching me how to operate out of love, because that's what I want to do. I want to know how to love. I want to know what love is. And I know that the Bible says that love comes from God. And so I want to understand that type of love. I want to understand how to how to love with someone and when they offend me, not to take it to heart, and not to allow it to pierce my heart, and realize that the person that I'm dealing with, that they got their own things going on, that they got their own issues, and be able to forgive them for what they said or what they did. But as we move through relationships, as we move through our lives, learning to love ourselves, having unconditional love for yourself, so you'll be able to love the other person, so you'll be able, to treat people the way you want to be treated. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line, is how you want to be treated. And then when you're in these relationships, what is it in us that causes us to not say I'm sorry, to say cruel things, and not being able to say I'm sorry? What it is in us that allow us to be physically and mentally abused? It's that rejection. It's that rejection, And so, sometimes I listen to people, they start telling me their story, when I was a case manager. They start telling me their story. Then I say, it sound like you was rejected. No, I wasn't. My mother and my father, and my grandmother, everybody loved me, and, and they this and they that. I say, okay. I say, there's some rejections somewhere. If you keep pulling the layers back, you're going to find that there was some rejection somewhere. Because when you get in relationship, especially in relationship that you allow people to abuse you, what is it in us that causes us to allow people to physically abuse us? And what is it in us that think that we have a right, that it's all right for us to physically attack someone? Something is deadly wrong. And so in order for us to get healed from these abusive situations, this rejection, we first have to understand that there are different types of rejection. There's and that I'm just going to talk about two that I know of. It's that unspoken rejection. What's so amazing to me, and I've been a victim of this. Unspoken rejection is when you're in a relationship with someone. Okay, so the relationship is going well. You think it's going well. And all of a sudden, you call. And there's no response. You text, there's no response. And I mean, they go away for days and weeks, and they never contact you. I think that is the most painful type of rejection that you can experience. That's that unspoken rejection. Now, the person who's doing this, I'm sure they got their own issues going on, and they got a lot of things going on, and they just don't want to deal with you. But it becomes a selfish situation because you're not understanding that if I call you and you don't respond, I text you and you don't respond, and you don't do this for a long period of time, that's painful to me. That's hurtful. It is unspoken rejection. I'd rather for you to just tell me, say, listen, I'm busy, I get with you later. And so when people do things like that, what normally happens is the person that's feeling rejected, they form their own conclusion. That's the only thing they can do. You form your own conclusion because the person is really not talking to you. But you know what happened? Because I am mature and I understand that people, have their own issues. And sometimes they rather not talk to you because, they feel like they got to explain. But it still does not give them a right to be abusive, because it is a form of abuse. And then you have what they call compromising rejection. Usually a compromising rejection is the soft blow. It's a soft blow type of rejection. And usually this is done between husband and wives. What it's saying is, I really don't want to deal with you right now. And it leaves the door open, because you got to have the door open if you're husband and wife. But in a compromising rejection, that's when you talk to the person and you tell them, say, listen, I got some things going on. That's when this unspoken rejection, it's supposed to turn into a compromise. And listen, I got some things going on right now, and so, I won't be talking to you for a while, but I'll get back with you. And so it doesn't close the door. But that unspoken rejection, to me, it shuts the door if you don't understand what's going on. One thing I'm grateful for is the fact that God has given me discernment, and then he does download to me. He shows me a lot of things, when I'm in a relationship with people. He shows me, because I ask him, well, what's going on? And God sometimes, I only see in part. I only know in part. But sometimes he'll tell me, especially if he has his hands in the relationship, whether it's friendship, whatever. When God has his hands in the relationship to keep me from tripping, he usually downloads enough information to keep me on track. Because see, what you got to learn about relationship, when you get into a relationship, it's about what are you, God, trying to teach you? What is it that you're supposed to learn? You're supposed to learn something. You're supposed to learn something. Every time you get in a relationship, every time you get in a situation, there is a lesson to be learned. And so when we can come to this place where we realize that there's a lesson to learn, what is it that I'm supposed to learn, then we won't feel so rejected. We won't feel so abandoned. What lesson? Because I think that when people come into our lives, they come in for a purpose. They come in for a purpose. And that's what you have to understand. What purpose did he or she come into my life? And so when you can understand that, you won't feel so rejected. And when you can heal the little girl and the little boy in you, when you can say, that was a lesson that I had to learn when my mother, left me with my grandmother, when, she did what she did, what did I learn? Because one thing you got to understand, that all things work together for your good. Whatever you go through, it will work together for your good. I know it don't feel good at the time, but it will work together. What lesson did I learn? Because let me tell you something. Forgiveness is for you. It's not for it's for the other person, but forgiveness basically is for you. Learning to forgive. I'm not saying that you're going to forget, but I know that when you learn to forgive, then you're able to interact with that person again. You're able to love them and keep moving on. Now there's a Psalms 27:10 say, Even if my father and my mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. So anytime you feel rejected or abandoned, remember God got you. He got us. He knows the plan that he has for our life. Remember that he has a plan, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made by his hand. See, go into your Pandora's box. Pull out all of that craziness. Pull out that stuff and say, listen, I don't want this. Pack it up and put it to the dumpster. Put it in the furnace, burn it up and move on with your life. I see people and I listen to people still crying over stuff that happened. You know what? You have to choose to release pain. You have to choose to release it. So what you do, you have to find something else to replace it with. What do you replace it with? You have to learn to replace it with something. Do something for somebody else. Do something for yourself. But continue to know that God has a plan. 1 Corinthians 13 said, love never fails. God is love, and love never fails. Love covers over a multitude of faults. Love covers over. So this week, as you go through your day, think about all the things. Think about the relationships that you've been in. Think about when you was a little kid and who did what. When you're in a family, where there's a lot of people, usually somebody's going to feel rejected. Somebody, because remember, you literally fighting for space and fighting for position in this family. And so then a lot of times we go outside the family to find that. But know this, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made by the hands of God, and that he loves you and he has a plan, and that he holds us close. He is the one that holds us close. So I thank you again for coming to join me. And I pray that these videos have been a help to the ones who watch them. Learn to love yourself. God is love. For God so loved the world that he gave Jesus, and Jesus gave his life that we all may have a right to the tree of life. And that Jesus came to teach us how to love one another. Love. It doesn't, want its own way. It's not puffed up. It's not selfish. It's not, abusive. It's not violent. Love, it holds you close. It becomes intimate with you, and it wants the best for you. We should want the best for the people that we say we love. It just blows my mind to see how we say such cruel things and do such cruel things, all in the name of love. All in the name of love. That is a lie. That love that you have that allow you to abuse someone physically mentally is a lie. It comes from the very pits of hell. God is love, and love never fails. So you all have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend. Sit down, find yourself a quiet place and spend some time with God. And you know what? People say, well, he don't talk to me. He's always talking, but we just too busy to listen. So I say, I love you and I thank you. Share this video and I'll see you on next week. Bye.